A shadow shall fall over the universe, and evil will grow in its path, and death will come from the skies.
It's a one-way ticket to midnight. Oh, I'm feeling just right.
All right, everybody, welcome back to another exciting edition. Here we are at Next Edition. This is Vin coming to you from New York, and that cat over there is in L.A.
Yo,
And from New York to L.A., we want to welcome you all back. Thank you so much. All right, Cat, today we're talking about one of our favorite movies that we grew up with, Heavy Metal, which was a cartoon that came out in 1981, and it was made for adults, and it was based off of a like a graphic novel type of magazine that came out.
It was made off of Heavy Metal magazine, which is still popular today. You can go to your comic book shop and pick it up.
Yeah, when that thing came out when we were kids, it was great. I remember we were in 6th grade, and I bought that for a friend of ours' birthday party, and it was
John Lupus.
It was, and I got it for them, and I think it was like the first edition, and he was like, "This is great," I mean, when you're kids, there's nudity in it. I mean, it was a cartoon and everything, but it was just kind of cool that it was graphic. It was fantasy. There was violence. There was nudity. There was great writing. It was really cool, and they made a movie out of it, and we saw it. And it was great, but you know what? I didn't see it in the theater. You did.
Oh yeah, it was me, Jason Surface, and
Yep.
I think was it Chris Ramos or Marvin?
Maybe
It
Marvin.
was one of those. I think it might have been Marvin, but I remember
Yeah.
they took us to see it over at the Roslyn movie theater.
Was it Roslyn?
Yeah. And it was rated R, and then all these. Now remember, people, this is a rated R movie, not for anybody under 15. I figured
That's
boys
right.
at 15
That's
is
right.
fine.
There's nudity. There's graphic violence. There's language. There's sexuality. Yeah. See it first before you decide to see it with kids. I'd say under 15, 16.
Yeah, I'd say
maybe.
15. They should be all right. It's like if they haven't seen it on the internet by that point, I don't know what your kids are doing.
Yeah.
But for us, at the time, there weren't a lot of animation movies coming out. They had
Right,
American
there were
Pop, right? It was like American
Right.
Pop.
Right, which was Ralph Bakshi, who did The Lord of the Rings. He did some great movies. Yeah, Ralph Bakshi. And what else was there for an adult, cartoon?
There was that Triple X one, which I don't think I should mention.
Oh, was that Fritz the Cat or something
Yeah,
like that? Right?
Fritz the Cat. But
that
other than that, there's not like the same anime they have today. Today they got like 50 animes, going from DC to Marvel, coming out of Warner Brothers.
Right.
A lot of anime coming from overseas. Like my son's
Right.
crazy into it. But for this as an adult cartoon, it was rated R when it came out. It's another cult classic.
Right,
I mean,
right. Yeah, they would show this at the Midnight Madness, 12 o'clock, showing that, people would wait up with like a Eraserhead and Rocky Horror Picture Show, all of those.
Yeah. I mean, it was. I mean, it was really good. There's 5 stories, right?
6 stories. 6 stories. And
stories?
yeah, so what happened was, now this is a Canadian American movie. It was mostly produced in Canada. The producers were from Canada, but each segment has a different production house doing the animation and everything. So
Really?
yeah, it wasn't. That's why each one of these segments looks different. All the animation is different.
Right.
So they wanted to get it done with a certain amount of time, and they sent it out to different production houses, which is great. I think it added to the flavor of it, how it wasn't just all one common, theme. You know?
You know what? I think you're right, and it did follow the actual magazine verbatim. I mean, the images in the magazine were the images that were in
Right.
this movie.
Specifically, the Den character was from the magazine. Now, you saw this in the theater. I didn't see it in the theater when it came. I remember you did. I remember you coming back, and I'm like, "How was it? Was it great? Was it graphic?" And you were like, "Oh yeah, it was great. It was bloody. All of that. I mean, loved it." And then later on, I think a friend of ours got it on videotape, And this is before it came out on cable, or maybe it was on cable once and he recorded it or something like that. And we would have parties and go and watch this.
Yeah.
And everyone, right? And
I remember we would go and watch this movie. And that was like the thing, the thing to do.
Right.
I mean, for its time, because there was nothing like it, nothing out like it at the time or since.
And super entertaining. So let's just start at the beginning real quick for people who haven't seen this. It is a cartoon, and the premise of it is it's being the stories. The overall idea of the movie is being told from the concept of evil. And evil is represented in the movie by a green sphere, a glowing green sphere. And it's telling the story to a young girl, and it's letting her know how evil has influenced different people throughout the universe. And through different dimensions, and how it travels through different dimensions.
Right.
And because it's evil telling a story, of course, all the stories are going to have a evil element to them.
Right.
But also a good element, good versus evil, let's say.
Well, you know what? I think it's. I'm not sure if it's good versus evil. It's almost like after you watch it a couple of times, you got to kind of figure out like what really happened that was bad, and then you realize that the intrinsic idea of evil is that it's not something that's like a blunt force. It's something that's subtle and supple, that corrupts, and that's how evil gets into situations. Well,
it definitely corrupts, but there were some blunt issues when the guy picks up the evil ball, and it melts him. That's pretty blunt.
But see, that could have been anything. I mean, like a guy touching lava, he doesn't know what it is because that particular story, Harry the cab driver, they end up getting it and putting it into a lock safe type device, right? And and then they carry it around with them, and they were having it on display in a museum.
That's because evil allowed itself to be injected into the lives of these other characters, so it could laugh at it. It didn't have to. There were at least 3 or 4 different characters in the movie that picked up the ball, and it just melted them. They just died.
Right, or even viewing it just died. Right, it can kill. It can kill or choose not to kill.
Or choose not. Right.
But like as in, we'll say like the Egyptian pyramids, when the archaeologists are digging them up, they don't know what the stuff does. It can do anything, and if they don't know if it's sentient or not, they're not sure, what it is. As far as they know, it's like green rock and it can kill you. So pick it up with tweezers,
Right, exactly. So getting back to the good versus bad element, so there is the element of evil, which is represented by this green ball, but then there's good, and you'll see that at the end of the movie where good triumphs over evil, where evil, the green ball, is destroyed by. It's a character called Tarna. It's a woman who her bloodline is to defend people. It's just a good character. It just wholesome, good, and it does destroy evil in the end. So there is that good versus evil in the movie. But not every segment is good versus evil. Like when the stoner guys are flying through the universe, there isn't much good and evil in that. That's just a story where evil hitched a ride, let's just say, with another group of people and wound up someplace else.
I'll go for that, but if you want to say kidnapped by space aliens, brought into outer space and landing on a planet that's the size of Jupiter, as not bad, I mean, if that's what you want to qualify it as, pretty much, man, that kind of mess up my day,
Well, yeah, except those guys were so happy, man. They were on all sorts of drugs and flying around, and they were just, having a good time. Let me ask you this, Kat. Were there any elements of the movie that you didn't like, that didn't work for you, that, took away from the movie? Just anything you didn't like?
You know what? I'm not one for all those sappy long periods of
In
just
Tarna?
in Tarna of like a lot of music, a lot of flying, a lot of scenery. I'm just like, all right,
Okay.
can we get on to something? I'm
Right.
kind of like an action guy. Like keep it moving. That's almost
Okay.
like when you saw like Star Trek, the motion picture, and they did
Right.
80 minutes of them like flying the ship. It's like, can we get to something, please? Does
Right,
somebody
right.
talk around here? Anybody?
Right. Okay, what else? Anything else?
I'm saying that was probably the biggest takeaway. I think the story that I liked the best, it was Den. you know.
Okay.
And well, that was like when I was younger. It was Den, but I just saw it again recently just to refresh my
Okay.
memory. And I'm moving it up to Harry the Cab Driver. I kind of
Okay.
like that one.
Okay, let's just talk about the two real quick. So Den is a young kid, like a teenager or whatever, who's into science or whatever. He finds a little meteorite in his yard, which is evil. It's the green ball. He brings it to his room to study it, and he's doing a test with electricity from his roof. There's a wire coming down to his room. Lightning strikes it, strikes the antenna, and but he's sucked into some type of vortex between the evil ball and the lightning, and he gets shot off to universe, parallel dimension, or something like that. But in the process, becomes this huge hulking character with a big ding dong, and and becomes like the hero of that world.
Yeah, he becomes like the hero of his own story, but he still has his dorky, commentary. Yeah, it's like, wow, hey, before I would have had asthma, now I can like run for miles.
Right. Yeah, I like Den too, because there was that aspect of this young kid, and all of a sudden he's in this world, and at the end he doesn't want to go back, because the girl that he hooks up with says, Den, with the Lochnar, which is the evil ball, it's called the Lochnar. With the Lochnar, you could go back to Earth, and he's like, forget that, I'm staying here, man.
Well, he was like, she was saying that you can rule the whole planet, you can rule all these people. He's like, I don't want to be a ruler, man. Let's go over here behind the bushes.
Yeah, exactly, right.
And
then Harry Canyon is a story about a cab driver in New York City in the future. And New York is decrepit and run down and disease and crime ridden. And Harry Canyon stumbles upon this girl whose dad is an archaeologist who discovers the Lochnar, the evil ball. And he kind of saves her and winds up hooking up with her a little bit. Why did you like Harry Canyon so much?
But just because he was kind of like indifferent about the whole thing. He's just like, it's just another day. It's like, oh, screaming girl, come at me. It's like, get in the car. He was kind of like,
almost like Snake Plissken attitude, kind of.
Yeah, he's just taking it in stride. It's like, this is nothing. I'll just do. I'm doing my day. And this just happened to come into my day, and I'm like, I'll swing with this. Whatever's going on. Hey, we don't jump my back, no problem.
Right. Yeah, and great character too. Yeah, no, that's the other thing I liked about great characters. Every episode had a great character, great writing, dialogue. It was a fun movie. When I talk about the facts in a little bit, there didn't get a lot of awards and stuff like that, but it made it to that cult status where once again people would go to see it at midnight, and it was just fun. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah,
it still is. It still is a lot of fun.
It is definitely cult status. I showed it to my son, who happens to be 15. Right, and he enjoyed it also. He actually thought it was good. It's an adult theme, but he actually enjoyed it, even though like today's animation is a little bit more, as you say, linear. Where this is 5 different studios or 6 different studios doing six different takes on a story revolving around evil.
Right.
But he still liked it. He enjoyed it. He could appreciate it.
Right.
Besides the violence, the sex, and the nudity.
Right. Exactly. Which is always, nothing wrong with that. But so nothing wrong with that. So one more thing I just want to mention real quick is, the name is heavy metal. So when it came out, a lot of people shied away from it because they thought it involved a lot of heavy metal music, which is not the case. And we'll talk about that a little bit. Other than that, I got nothing but good things to say about this movie. Definitely something to see. A lot of fun. Very entertaining.
Yeah,
what about you?
Definitely entertaining. I mean, for all sorts. You covered a lot of aspects of it. You covered, the high-end secretary. You covered the average cab driver. You covered the dorky kid. You covered the stoners.
Another planet.
Right, the stoners. Yeah, you covered like World War II veteran. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like you had a very good dichotomy of different stories where this like they didn't fall into one thing, but they were varied in their depictions.
Yeah, very varied and made for a great story. It definitely doesn't get boring the whole way through. Towards the end of Tarnus, there were a couple of slow scenes, whatever, but the ending of that story was actually pretty good. So I just want to mention a few things. So once again, this movie, Heavy Metal, came out in 1981. Heavy Metal, the magazine, was created, there was another magazine called National Lampoon, and one of the creators of that magazine went over to Europe and discovered a magazine, a graphic novel, and loved it and bought the rights to it, came back, brought it back to Canada and America, and changed the name around and created Heavy Metal, and used some of the same stories or whatever.
Well, like I said, you could go to your local comic shop and pick up current issues of Heavy Metal, and there's lots of places where you can back order it. And if you wanted to get this exact magazine that had the story in it, you can get the exact one.
Exactly. So, and it was very popular. So what happened was they decided to make a movie based on, the novel, and it was produced by a gentleman named Ivan Reitman, who incredibly talented producer and director and writer, and he's created works that many of you may or may not know, names like Animal House, Stripes, Ghostbusters, Private Parts with Howard Stern, tons of other movies. And he brought in a lot of people that he worked with in the past, some from a company out of Canada called Second City Television. A lot of these guys went on to work on current Saturday Night Live. Some of these original cast that came to work with him he used in the movie in Heavy Metal. Now, one of those players was John Candy, who did several voices in the movie. He did Den, he did this little robot guy, and he did a cop from Harry Canyon, but great character.
There was no way I was going to walk around this place with my dork hanging out.
And of course, that was from Den, when he gets brought over to this parallel universe or whatever it was, and he's just butt naked,
Right, no clothes.
Another character that Ivan Reitman worked with was the incredible Harold Ramis, who I love as well. He was one of the Ghostbusters. He was in a ton of movies. Another great guy. He did a stoner guy in the movie.
It's okay, man. If there's one thing I know, it's how to drive when I'm stoned. It's like your perspective's fucked, so you just gotta let your hands work the controls as if you're straight.
Yeah, don't do that. Don't do that in real life.
Don't do that in real life. But great, I love Harold Ramis. Another character was John Vernon, who was in Animal House, and he did a movie with Clint Eastwood called The Outlaw Josie Wales. Another great character, and used him in the movie.
Lincoln Stern, you stand here accused of 12 counts of murder in the first degree, 14 counts of armed theft of Federation property, 22 counts of piracy in high space, 18 counts of fraud, 37 counts of rape, and 1 moving violation. How do you plead?
He played the prosecutor.
Yeah, you know what? He had to throw in the parking violation just for a cherry on top,
And great voice to use. I mean, these are all voices, cartoons, so great voice to use. And last but not least, one of the characters I loved the most, who was a total evil guy, was Captain Lincoln F. Stern, and he was played by the great Eugene Levy, who once again worked with a lot of these guys on a lot of different movies and production.
Okay, Hanover, you've had this coming. Goodbye.
So there's a lot of that stuff going on.
There's one line in the movie that I thought was great, and it was during that Stern segment, right, where the guy is on the podium and he's like, "Hanging's too good for him. Burning's too good for him. He should be torn into itty bitsy pieces and buried alive."
Yeah, Hanover Fist. He's this little weakling guy, and he finds the little ball, and he's tossing it around during the trial, and it makes him into this hulking creature. It's great.
Yeah,
loved it.
Yeah. That was absolutely great.
A lot of fun. So I want to talk about the music for a second. Now I mentioned about people were turned off that it might be heavy. This was not all heavy metal music. There were actually only a few songs that would be considered heavy metal, but the soundtrack was way above its time, before its time, because it incorporated so many great bands. I mean, we're talking about Black Sabbath was in there. Let's see, Cheap Trick was in there.
You know what? A fact about Cheap Trick, what I think is funny, is that a friend of mine, once we got older and we were in our 20s, ended up managing the band Cheap Trick.
Right?
Yeah, and I got to go see their show, and then he got me in front row seats.
Was that someone we grew up with?
It's a guy who I met later.
Oh, okay. Well, that's great.
Yeah, but he ended up managing Cheap Trick. I was like, for real? He's like, yeah, you want to go? And I'm like, yeah. This is like right.
They still play. They still play.
But they normally play county fairs. They don't play arenas like they used to. Because Cheap Trick was a pretty big band back in the time.
Yeah, big band. That's what I'm saying. To be in the movie, yeah, they talented band. But getting back to the heavy metal, concept or whatever, there's a band in there called Devo who had a couple of good songs at the time, but would definitely be not considered heavy metal whatsoever. I mean, if anything, they were like
punk?
New Wave or punk. Yeah,
no, exactly. I'd say more New Wave. They weren't really punk.
Lord, I am so tired. How long can this go on? And I've been working in a coal mine, going down, working in a coal.
And then, of course, you got Blue Oyster Cult, who I would definitely consider rock, but I don't know if I would go so far as to say heavy metal.
Please don't let these shakes go on. Don't let these shakes go on. Don't let these shakes go on.
You know what? I will say my best song by Blue Oyster Cult was Godzilla.
Godzilla?
Yeah, Godzilla.
Yeah.
Go, Godzilla!
And Blue Oyster Cult was from around where we grew up.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know that. Yeah. So now I got to give a shout once again. Definitely not considered heavy metal. Stevie Nicks. I love Stevie Nicks. They used her in this movie. I can't say enough about it. Love Stevie Nicks.
What skirt are you wearing? You liking Stevie Nicks? What do you?
Stevie Nicks.
What do you got? Like a shawl in your closet or something?
Call it whatever you want. I love Stevie Nicks.
Do you dance in front of the mirror to Stevie Nicks?
I sure would. I dance with her. I'd carry her while I'm dancing. I don't care.
Look, I'm not saying you're hanging out with her because I know you're in your room pretending you're Stevie Nicks, singing into your hairbrush.
Yeah.
Lord. I didn't know that about you.
I don't know. Would you consider Journey heavy metal?
No, I would not consider Journey heavy metal at all.
Rock and roll.
They're rock and rock ballads. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm here, you are by my side. So now I come to you.
And
I don't care who you are, you got to know that song. I don't care how old you are, how young you are, you got to know that song.
I'm sorry. That's the one song from Journey I don't like because the first time I heard it, I saw Last American Virgin. Right? I don't know if you remember that one.
No. Yeah, you're thinking. I know exactly what you thought. You're thinking of a different movie because Journey was not in that. They weren't in there. You're thinking of "Oh No" by the Commodores. When at the very last scene where she's with the other guy and he leaves crying. Yeah. It was "Oh No" by the Commodores.
Look, great song. I'll go back and view that part, but that pissed me off so bad. I just hated the song ever since.
I remember that, and we loved that movie too. I mean, everything was great until that end because it just breaks your heart. But anyway, Journey. Yeah, I mean, so these are some of the bands that were in there. Wonderful, really good.
Yeah.
So let me ask you, Kat. Take a look at the time. Do we have any time for any phone calls?
I think we might. Let me go over here and check it out. Let's see if I got somebody on the line.
All right.
All right. I think we do have a phone call.
All right.
Teresa from Houston. Teresa, are you there? You're on the air.
Hi, listen, Kat. Listen, the movie had a bunch of naked women running around. But actually, the magazine had a bunch of naked men. How come the movie didn't have more naked men? I wouldn't mind seeing more naked men.
Ooh, naked men's, you know.
Listen, you have nothing to worry about, okay? Croc skin, buttercream, croc skin, buttercream. What size is the waist? Let's go in.
Well, Teresa, I got to say, was it Teresa, right? Was it Teresa?
Yeah, it's Teresa.
Chat?
Yeah.
Teresa, sorry about that.
Teresa.
I'm sorry. She's right. The magazine did have naked men. I don't know why they didn't put more. I think at the time, specifically, not so much now, there was a big stigma about male genitalia in movies. I don't think there's as much now. But yeah, they should have. Why not? You got naked girls running around. Why not naked guys? What do you think?
I don't want to see any naked guys. So your naked guys, and Stevie Nicks can all hang out together.
All right, Teresa. Thanks so much for the call.
I appreciate it. Thank you. All right, let's see what we got here. I think we got another call coming up. Let's see. Second caller. Hold on. Thank you, Teresa. I'm sorry. Let's see. Second caller. I'm looking on my freaking prompter here. All right. Denise from Ohio. Denise, are you there? You're on the air.
Hey guys, I love the movie, but I don't understand the end.
Well, that did not sound like a Denise, but that's okay. I'm not sure your name. Thanks for the call, though. Why don't you go ahead? Why don't you explain the ending? Because I've heard about this
Denise
before.
Up here. But all right. Sorry, man. All right. The end.
I've heard this before. People were confused about the ending. What would you say about the ending? What's your interpretation of it?
Well, my interpretation of the end is basically the orb goes back in time to try to kill the girl before the girl becomes what her destiny is supposed to happen. But in that, it's in two places at one time. So in the future, when he kills her, he does not come back to kill her in time. So she gets him before he gets her. So that's
okay. I have no idea what you just said, but I will go with that. Could you extrapolate that? Let's just talk about the last 5 or 10 minutes. What are we talking about here? Because let me tell you what I understand. So the movie, he's telling a story to this girl, and at the end, he's with the girl, and he's just crumbling, and she runs out, and the house blows up.
Yep.
And then she transforms into
her
a likeness of Tarna.
No, she turns into Tarna.
Into Tarna?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I didn't think she turned into Tarna. I thought she was along the same bloodlines as Tarna. I thought Tarna was a totally separate story.
No. I think that's the whole point, was that the orb goes back in time to kill her before she kills him, but he's showing her why through these stories of throughout time of how he corrupts all people of all places. And and he shows her the last story of this is where you would actually kill me at, but I'm going to get you first, and this is that he's showing her death. But because he's multi-dimensional evil, right? Evil can be everywhere at once. That death, he forgot to kill her before the death happened. It was almost like he got involved in his own story.
I got you.
And that's why he starts screaming out, "No, don't do this! Don't do this!"
Right.
And then she raises her sword and kills it. Then the bird shows up, after she runs out of the house, and she gets the tattoo, and she fulfills her destiny and becomes the Terrakian.
The tattoo, because she's a Terrakian. Okay, I got you. All right, well, I hoped that helped answer your question, whatever your name was, Denise. If your name's Denise, sounded like a guy, but
hey, man, we got to work on our engineer over here because it says Denise to me, but he could have been somebody else.
Our engineer is okay. We'll have to talk to him later.
Yeah, I'm telling you, I don't know what he's doing, man. He's messing me up. You make me look bad. All right, I think we got another caller on the line. We got one last call, I think, here. That's what I believe. We got Sammy from Washington. Sammy, you're on the air. What do you got?
Hi, Vin. Hi, Kat. I love you guys, and I love the movie Heavy Metal.
Thank you.
My question is, how do you two guys know each other?
Oh, interesting. You and me. Do you want to start?
That has nothing to do with the movie.
Well, she said she loved it at least, but you know what? I have heard some people have commented how we know each other. I mean, I'm in New York, you're in L.A. You want to start?
No, you go ahead. You start.
Well, I think we've said that on a couple previous shows. We basically grew up with each other. We're going on 40 years knowing each other now. We went to the same schools. We actually lived on the same street. Same street.
Yeah. Fifth grade. Fifth grade.
Fifth grade.
You moved to town. You moved from Oyster Bay and lived down the block. And then
same street. We hung out all the time. And
every day.
Pretty much, got along, and you hung out. My brother was there, and all the neighborhood kids. We went to school together, junior high, high school, and then even past that, we stayed in touch, off and on through all these years, and that's pretty much the long and short of it.
Yeah, you know what? I think one of the things I find weird and funny also is that we've always been tight, even when we're apart, it's like we never kind of skipped a beat. We've always been doing the same things, different paths, but the same things in life, trying to achieve the same goals,
Right.
And,
here's the interesting thing too. Later on in life, and I'd say our mid to late 20s, we wound up working in the same field.
Yeah.
Just by coincidence, I went into a certain field, and then you were always messing with computers, and then later on you came into that field, and then I left the field. So it kind of, it's like a full circle, Yeah. And now we're doing this, which we've always done. We've always talked about movies, always. We critiqued them, and, we're doing it again.
Yeah, this is true. So we're going on pretty much 40 years,
Yeah.
I don't think we're going to break up anytime soon, because I need a date to the prom.
We got a little while to go. All right. Anybody else?
You know what? I don't think there's anybody else, but the phone is like lighting up here. We can see who this is.
Lighting up.
Yeah. Hold on a second. Let me see if I can peek this out a little bit.
Is our engineer, what's he doing over there?
He's saying Evil's on the line.
Who?
Evil?
Evil?
Yeah, Evil.
Okay.
What? All right. Let me answer this phone call. Hello, is this Evil?
Evil.
I am the sum of all evils. You silly mortals are but playthings for which to direct my malevolent energy. Always searching for answers to your misguided thoughts and pointless dreams.
I hope that's not evil.
Well, thank you, Mr. Evil, for your encouragement and spirit, and thank you for reaching out to us.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
My evil can possess all forms of energy. Soon you will be in my grasp for all eternity.
Well, until then, can I ask you a few questions?
As you wish.
Oh, does evil really exist on other worlds?
Do not be stupid. Next question.
Okay, why does evil exist at all?
Why? To satisfy the curiosity of the creator, of course. Which is fine by me because
I'm having a good time.
Okay.
Alright, so, why would you consider it evil to objectify women as they are in this movie?
Excuse me while I whip this out.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, okay. Does mental illness play any part in this?
yes, I especially love to inhabit the minds of celebrities.
No wire hangers ever!
Understood. Well, at the very least, would it mean that children are out of your reach?
Perhaps. But then again,
But an excellent day for an exorcism.
So, Evil, did you call for a reason?
I want to let you and Vin know I am enjoying the show. And also, to never forget.
You think that was evil?
I'm not sure if that was evil, but it's kind of scary that he's watching me.
Well, it is scary. I don't want evil watching me. I'll tell you one thing, though. He's right, though. Evil was in all of those characters, so very scary, very scary. But evil, stay away from us. We love the movie. We're saying we loved it.
We loved your part. Your part was a highlight.
Your part was great. So anything else, Kat, to say?
No, just make sure that if you're going to watch this movie, make sure everybody's 15 or older. I'm going higher than NC or PG-13. I make it PG-15. Yeah. And but it's a good movie. If you like animation, I'd say go ahead and watch it. It's a classic. But do not watch Heavy Metal 2000. The movie sucked. Sucked.
Yeah, I never even saw that. I actually took your advice, didn't even see it. But Heavy Metal, the original classic, love it. It's definitely in our bag of tricks, movies we recommend. And I want to thank everybody for tuning in again. Thank you for joining us. It was another great show. And of course, it was great to see you, Kat. We will see you on the next show. And once again, from New York to LA, we will see you all at the next edition.